This one to Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Honor to him, the blessed one, the worthy one, the fully enlightened one. My utmost respect to the perfectly enlightened Samma Sambuddha, the noble doctrine of the Buddha, and the noble Mahasangha, the disciples of the Buddha. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our BUCU 130 14 historical background of Buddhist culture. And today is our day number 4. So we did yesterday talk about Buddhism and cultural movement. So today we will discuss a slightly different topic. Okay, right. And I did send you the presentations. I hope you received it. So today we will talk about the Buddhist perspective on politics. Okay. So we started talking about this book already. That is Damien Keown's Buddhism, a very short introduction. And yesterday we covered some of the lessons already. And so today we will discuss more about the other topics. Buddhism and elephants, the Buddha, karma and rebirth, Four Noble Truths, and the Mahayana, and Buddhism in Asia, meditation, ethics, Buddhism in the West. So some of these topics, maybe Buddhism in Asia, meditation, ethics, and Buddhism in the West, we will cover today. Okay. So So today's main teaching state the date and frame Buddhism. Although it is Buddhism as a cultural movement, this is a different topic. Buddhist perspective on politics. So Buddhism did not remain only a private path of meditation. How it became a living force that shaped ethics, law, education, art, and the exercise of power across many societies. That is what we will explore today. Very interestingly, Buddha had already learned so many things about. He himself was from a political family, and his mannerisms, and he was exposed to the hierarchy of the society, and therefore it was easier for those people, like those business people and the politicians. They were more comfortable with meeting the Buddha. He knew all the mannerisms, how to deal with such people, and all those political leaders and those business leaders. They were also comfortable in coming and visiting the Buddha. So this is a very important point actually. And probably if he was from a different class of people, those people would probably find it more challenging to meet, especially during that time. So Buddha's Siddhartha Gautama's somehow family background could have helped him a lot. So King Bimbisara, King Kosala, and King Ujjena, and even King Ajatasattu, they all came to meet him. They were very close devotees of him. Apart from that, Anathapindika, Vishakha, they were from very high profile business families. So they were also able to, like Queen Mallika and many other powerful people. Khema, she was also a powerful person from a royal family. So they were able to, interact with the Buddha. They found Buddha very interesting character because he had natural leadership qualities. He was very wise, smart, and also very young and mid 30s. That time he was also very young and exuberant. So it was much easier for those political leaders to come to him. So I would like to um, bring your attention to this, how the political power was in line with the Buddha's teachings too, and all throughout India, and even later on, like King Ashoka and all the other kings and Vajjis, they were all very happy to help Buddhism. So over here, we talked about this, right? Nalanda, Rajgir, Bodh Gaya, Uruvela, Pataliputta, Vesali, Kusinara, Kapilavattu, Lumbini, Savatthi, Kosala, Isipatana, Sarnath, Benarasi, and all these places are very popular. And all throughout these places, the Buddha was walking. Um, this is very important because he was using only foot to walk, and he did not use any kind of other vehicles. We don't find any witness about him, traveling through any kind of vehicle. So he was a very simple spiritual master, and he was able to walk all alone and also barefoot. So very simple life he had, although he was from such an high profile family. So during our previous class, we discussed chapter 1 through 7 of Damien Kion's Buddhism, a very short introduction. Today from chapter 8 onward, we will discuss Buddhist ethics and uh, other other topics. Okay. Mm, yeah. So yesterday we discussed about the gray area over here. These countries were predominantly Theravada Buddhist countries: Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia. Mostly they were um, predominantly Theravada Buddhist countries. Although India and other countries, Bangladesh, they also had some, mixed um, practitioners, followers of Theravada Buddhism. But these are the countries um, which were predominantly Theravada during that time. Later on, of course. Um, and also later we found the Mahayana Buddhist countries, even a larger geographical area was covered by the Mahayana Buddhism. Also, it was called Northern Buddhism, probably because it was northern countries than the other southern school of Buddhism. So Tibet, Bhutan, Nepal, China, and then South Korea and Japan, Mongolia, Taiwan, they are all, Vietnam, they are all Mahayana Buddhist countries. And now actually this situation is much more different, but this is what we found later on during the um, few centuries of the Buddha's passing away. And then we talked about Buddhism and elephants. And okay, can you see this picture? Okay, what do you think?
Are you talking about the Mahayana swallowing the other
Hinayana?
traditions?
Mahayana swallowing Hinayana? Okay, what else do you see here?
I guess I'd say it looks to me like a depiction that the biggest threat to the fish is not another fish, but our pollution of the ocean or the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's very interesting, right? It does look like another bigger fish, but it is actually not a fish. It's it's something different. Uh, so apparently it looks like a fish, but um, it may not be a fish. And what about this one?
That's basically showing that it's actually much worse than it actually looks. And whenever we look more into it, um, it just gets worse.
Hmm. Yeah. Again, it's very easily misunderstood as an iceberg, right? It does look like an iceberg. And also the tip of the iceberg is much smaller than the part that is below the water. Yeah, so it's actually not, again, an iceberg. What is that?
The plastic bag.
That's a plastic bag. So see how we can easily be misunderstood due to many reasons. This also looks like a, you know, um, similar, something like that. Apparently, if you have seen this before, or if somebody talks about this, and then everyone thinks, oh, this is not iceberg, this is plastic bag. Sometimes we don't see it that way. If nobody talks about that, or we haven't seen it before, we apparently think it's a massive mountain. It looks like that, right? So what I want to actually show you here, the important factor of the things that we see and things that is actually are can be very different. So just like the elephant, right? So we also talked about the elephant. And so each man touches only one part, the trunk, the ear, the leg, and each insists he has understood the whole animal, but it is not. So Kyun used this to warn us. Any single description of Buddhism, whether as philosophy, religion, psychology, or ethics, touches only one part of something much larger. We saw modern images of plastic pollution in the ocean, used the same way. A small piece looks like harmless on its own sometimes, but the whole picture um, seen together tells a different story. And the plastic will be there for thousands of years. And at the bottom of the ocean, we can see. I think even in at the bottom of Mariana Trench, plastics something still there. So this is a caution we will carry with us today as we look at Buddhism and politics. We must see the whole elephant, not just one part. Okay? So let us move to chapter 2. So chapter 2 introduced the life of the Buddha from his birth and renunciation to his enlightenment and teaching career. And so his birth as Siddhartha Gautama, his renunciation of palace life, his years of striving, his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, and his 45 years of teaching. He had a group discussion. Actually, we should have a group discussion maybe somewhere later. If we have time, we will do that to see about how his life was spent, and uh, the person who has rebelled against the existing social system, and how he has changed the very lifestyle of India. And just I also want you to remember, um, if he decided to stay back and live like a comfortable king, and with a pretty wife and angel-like son, then he must maybe he would become a very powerful king, right? As the astrologers mentioned, he would become maybe a universal monarch. But then, after 2,500 years today, we would never talk about him. We would not even remember him. But he left all of them and he became a monastic, ascetic practitioner, and now today, everyone talks about him. And also remember, he did not leave the palace out of anger or hatred or ill will towards his family or, his kingdom. It's out of compassion, great compassion for everyone. He went out of the royal palace. He renounced the world with a great mission. He sacrificed his own happiness and comfort. That's what most of these monks also do. They sacrifice their own personal comforts, their own personal happiness for the well-being and happiness of the many. So that is why we talk about the Buddha today. His remarkable and incredible sacrifice, his great compassion for the greater community, which is very, very important. And then, okay. Then we also talked about karma and rebirth a little bit. So karma as intentional action and its consequences across this life and future lives. So over here, chapter 3 explained karma and rebirth. The principle that intentional actions of body, speech, and mind carry consequences, shaping our present character and our future circumstances. So we will return to karma today when we discuss ethics, because intention is the key, very heart of Buddhist moral evaluation. Okay. And then the Four Noble Truths. We discussed about this also yesterday and day before, and we will continue to discuss about that some bits and pieces of important factors of suffering, its cause, cessation, and the path. The framework for the entire Buddhist project. So the truth of suffering, the truth of its origin, that is craving, and also the truth of its cessation, and the truth of the path that leads to that cessation. This framework underlies everything else in Buddhist teaching, including the ethical and political material we cover today. And then we discuss the expansion of Buddhist cultural move into the Mahayana movement, the Bodhisattva ideal, and it spread across Asia. So the Mahayana, the greater vehicle, with its emphasis on the Bodhisattva, who vows to liberate all beings, not only himself. It's heartwarming to see the Kshitigarbha Bodhisattva vow when he vows to liberate himself, to wait until all the sentient beings in the hell realm are liberated. So that kind of a selfless compassion is truly remarkable in this Bodhisattva concept. So this tradition spread north into Central Asia, China, Korea, Japan, and Tibet, as we saw on the map a moment ago. And then Buddhism in Asia. We also traced the diverse forms Buddhism took as it settled into different Asian cultures. So this chapter actually examined how Buddhism took root across Asia, in Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, Tibet, China, and Japan. each culture receiving the Dhamma and in turn shaping the way it was expressed. We will see the same pattern of cultural adaptation again today when we discuss about Buddhism in the West. That will be an interesting topic again. Okay. So this chapter 7 is meditation, and over here we surveyed the major meditation traditions, Samatha and Vipassana, as the practical heart of Buddhist training. So calming practice, Samatha meditation, Samatha Bhavana, and insight practice or Vipassana Bhavana are the two main fundamental meditation systems that we have in Buddhism. So, having examined the doctrine, history, tradition, and meditation, we now turn to the ethical foundation of Buddhist culture. As I mentioned before, learning more about Buddhist meditation is very important, and maybe books like Visuddhimagga or The Path of Purification can be very helpful. So, in order to go to this stage, this topic also is very important. That is called ethics. Okay. So, over here, the true beginning of today's substantive teaching is ethics. That is the in Pali we call sila. So so morality or ethical conduct as training, not merely a list of rules. So this is the chapter 8, the title card from Kion's book. We will discuss about this Pali word as is sila, sometimes translated as morality or virtue or even ethical discipline. And in Buddhism, the Buddha has said once, Vinayo nama sasanasa ayu. Vinaya, the discipline, the morality, that code of conduct is the very lifeline of this Buddhist order. Very important thing in Buddhism. That's why Sila is called the very foundation of this spiritual journey. I want to be clear from the start. Buddhist ethics is not simply a list of commands handed down from above. It's a training in understanding intention, action, consequence, harm, and even the purification of the mind. So you will remember from chapter 7 that meditation, samadhi, is one part of the Buddhist path, but meditation without ethical discipline may calm the mind temporarily without transforming character. This is why the tradition speaks of a threefold training, what we call sila, ethical conduct, samadhi, collectedness of mind, and panya, wisdom. Each supports the other, so they are mutually helpful too. Sila is the ground on which samadhi and panya are built. So let us look at the actual precepts as they are laid out in our text. Okay. Would you mind reading this part, please?
I can read. Buddhist precepts. There are 5 main sets of precepts in Buddhism. The 5 precepts, Panakasila, the 8 precepts, Ataragasila, the 10 precepts, Dasasila, the 10 good paths of action. I won't even attempt that one.
That
The
is
mana-
called Dasa Kusala Kamma Patha. Okay.
Thank you. The monastic disciplinary code, Patmokkha. The most widely observed of these codes is the first, the 5 precepts for laymen. The 5 precepts forbid killing, stealing, sexual immorality, lying, and taking intoxicants. The core of Buddhist morality is contained in the first 4. These are supplemented by more rigorous precepts according to the status of the practitioner or to suit particular ceremonial occasions. The 5th precept against taking intoxicants, for example, is thought to be particularly relevant for layfolk, while the 8 and 10 precepts, which supplement the basic 5 with additional restrictions, such as on the time when meals may be taken, are commonly adopted as additional commitments on holy days, upasatha. The monastic disciplinary code, Patimokkha, contain the monastic rule Vinaya, is a set of over 200 rules. The exact number varies slightly between schools, which set out in detail the regulations for communal monastic life.
Okay, thank you. So over here you can see different types of sila precepts, and in the Bhikkhu Patimokkha we have 227 silas or precepts, and in the Bhikkhuni Patimokkha there are 311 precepts. Because the lifestyle, the safety, and many things have been considered, especially for the bhikkhunis' safety. Like unlike the bhikkhus who live in forests, who could live in forest and survive, the bhikkhunis had more challenges in living a life like that. They would not be able to live a solitary life. So the Buddha made sure their safety. So in order to safeguard the bhikkhunis' life and bhikkhunis' vinaya, the Buddha had to impose a certain disciplinary code more than the bhikkhus. And the bhikkhunis have to live in close proximity to the bhikkhus, so that they can live in harmony. And also the bhikkhus have to offer ovada or some instructions every moon, every other moon, like half a moon days. So those practices like constant assemblies and getting instructions and helping each other have been phenomenal parts of bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, and it was also very hard for the bhikkhuni sangha to survive, especially in the Theravada tradition. And that's why later on, bhikkhuni order disappeared, and it was already anyway. It was very popular among the Mahayana Buddhist countries, and for example, in South Korea and in mainland China and Taiwan, and all these countries had very powerful bhikkhuni order. But the Theravada bhikkhuni order disappeared later because um, they were very strict with these Vinaya rules. And it was until 1990s that a modern era of Bhikkhuni order began. I remember I was in India at that time. I was studying in India. I heard about this wonderful tradition starting to flourish again. And that reincarnation, that renaissance of Bhikkhuni order in the recent past was a very special occasion in the Bhikkhuni Sasana. And right now we have Bhikkhuni Theravada Bhikkhunis in many different countries. I think in Sri Lanka alone, most number of bhikkhunis are there, more than 1,000 bhikkhunis. And then in US, Australia, and Europe, India, many other countries also are coming up, joining the Bhikkhuni order. So, very interesting fact. And then over here, the uh, five precepts. Um, Over here, these five precepts, Pancha Sila, the 8 precepts, Atthanga Sila, the 10 precepts, Dasa Sila, the 10 good paths of action, Dasa Kusala Kammapatha, and the monastic disciplinary code or the Patimokkha. They are the key factors of the Buddhist Vinaya. It explains that the 5 precepts forbidden killing, stealing, and then sexual misconduct, lying, and taking intoxicants form the core of lay morality. So lay people definitely have to follow the 5 precepts, and then they can also follow 8 precepts and 10 precepts apart from that if they wish to. And this is also very interesting. So our text tells us there are 5 main sets of precepts in the Buddhist tradition. The 5 precepts for lay people, the 8 precepts are often taken on Uposatha or observance days, full moon days, for example. The 10 precepts also for novices, novice monks and nuns, they have to take observe 10 precepts. And then the 10 good paths of action and the Patimokkha, usually the monastic disciplinary code of over 200 rules are there. So let us slow down on the 5 precepts because these are the ones most of you will encounter again and again, both in your own practice and in your own teaching. So over here we can see the yeah. So the 5 precepts, as we learned yesterday also, not to kill and not harming anyone, and also refraining from taking what is not given, and refraining from sexual misconduct, and then refraining from forced speech, and then also refraining from intoxicating drinks and drugs that leads to heedlessness. Notice that our text calls this the core of Buddhist morality. So the remaining precepts, the 8, the 10, the monastic code, are built on the same foundation. Okay. Adding restraint appropriate to a retreat, to novice life, and to full ordination. So a novice monk or nun, they can be of any age actually. But if someone wants to, if you become a novice monk or nun before 20, you have the option to become fully ordained or higher ordained, what we call upasampada, bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, by 20, the biological age 20. So that's also important. And so they have to wait until they become 20. And if you become a samanera or novice monk or nun after 20, and then you can become upasampada anytime that your preceptor agrees to do so. So this is again important about the Vinaya among the monastics. And but the ethical center never moves. It is these five for lay people. Now, here is something important for our purposes today. What determines whether an action is skillful or unskillful? Not the act alone, but the intention behind it. The Buddha said, like yesterday we discussed, Chetanaham bhikkhave kammang vadami. It is the intention, monks, that I call kamma. A wise ethical judgment considers intention together with consequence, context, and harm. Behind every unskillful action, the tradition identifies three roots. We learn three unwholesome roots. They are called lobha, greed, dosa, hatred, and moha, delusion. So they are opposites: generosity, alobha, and goodwill, adosa, and wisdom, panya. They are the roots of wholesome action. So hold on to this. Maybe in an hour or so we can, when we discuss leadership and governance, we will see that the way same three roots and their opposites appear again. Okay, now applied to how power is exercised in society. So we will talk about that a little later. And if we talk about the historical and or practical example, so consider how each precept touches ordinary modern life. Harming animals unnecessarily touches the first precept, and dishonest business dealings, maybe they touch the second precept. A broken trust in relationships touches the third precept, and misinformation spread on social media touches the fourth precept. So these are modern examples we can find. And also careless intoxication that leads to harm touches the fifth precept. Okay. So may I ask you, which of the five precepts do you find especially difficult in practice in contemporary society, and why?
I will speak up and say that for me, it's number 5, because abstaining from alcohol in social settings can be very difficult to do. Also, I was in a marriage for a really long time where my husband at the time gave me a really hard time about if I had a glass of wine with dinner. And so now that I'm divorced and I'm living alone, I'm like, hey, I can do whatever the heck I want to. So that's it.
Okay. Yeah, it could be very personal, depending on person to person. What about the others?
I think for me, it's killing.
Okay.
I, it's the mosquito.
Hmm. You have mosquitoes in your area?
Yes, well, when you live near lots of rivers and creeks and lakes, typically you have a lot of mosquitoes, especially in the summer. And we get very hot, in the upper 90s, sometimes 100, with humidity levels at around 60% or more. And so it's a big breeding grounds for mosquitoes.
Right.
And I seem to be a magnet for mosquitoes. So that's a tough one for me because a lot of times it just catches me off guard and I hit it and it's like, oh, I just killed one. But on the other hand, I saved 4 flies today that were on the inside and I let them outside. So
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting point you made. Like when you have water is very important for life, right? So when we have moisture, all the more bugs, more sentient beings are there. And for example, in California, we don't have many animals, not many bugs. But when there is moisture, there are many more sentient beings. Even the human civilization started with the rivers, right? We see Indus civilization, Wang Ho civilization, yeah, all these, have been based on river basins because water was the most important thing for us to survive. And so other humans, other sentient beings, bugs, snakes, all those sentient beings are there when there's water and when there is moisture. That's true. I remember when I was in Sri Lanka, we also had mosquitoes a lot. It's a tropical country and we have water all the time, so many rivers, so much rain, and then mosquitoes in millions. And so we kind of got used to them, lot of snakes and lot of bugs. So I remember I was meditating on mosquito landing and how they were sucking the blood and their belly become very full and after a while they go away. We feel a little bit of scratch sometimes. And the thing is the mind. Whenever you hear the sound of the mosquito, your brain starts to panic. You hear that sound, it's usually it's a very nice music. But mosquito buzzing is really making people very upset because they already have the image of mosquito being very harmful. And actually, most of the mosquitoes are harmless. Only very few mosquitoes are harmful. And so people feel very upset. And when you hear the sound of the mosquito and you already judge and you already come to a conclusion there's mosquito, you already make your blood toxic. That is where the problem begins. Or else if you don't panic, and I feel most of the time it should be okay. That's what I felt. Okay, so let's move on to the other topic, Buddhism in the West. Okay, so Buddhism in the West, this is a new topic, right? Um, can can you please read this one?
It's just the title page, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay, I will volunteer. A new Buddhism for the West. Why should there not be in time a Western Buddhism, a Navayana or new vehicle, not deliberately formed as such, but a natural growth from the same roots of Buddhism as all others? that is the record of the Buddha's enlightenment. There is no reason why it should not grow rapidly alongside and even blend with the best of Western science, psychology, and social science, and then thus affect the ever-changing field of Western thought. It will not be a Theravada or Zen. Just what it will be, we do not know, nor does it matter at the present time. The Dhamma as such is immortal, but its forms must ever change to serve the ever-changing human need. The above are the words of Christmas Humphreys, 1901 to 1983, the founder president of the Buddhist Society in England. They're taken from a book, 60 Years of Buddhism in England, p. 80.
Okay, thank you so much. So over here we can see how Buddhism entered Western societies through many channels, right? And this raises the question of cultural adaptation. So maybe um, this we also have an opportunity here to turn to the question close to many of your own lives and vocations. How has Buddhism entered Western societies? Maybe through immigrant communities, maybe through academic study or translation, maybe through meditation, teachers, and convert communities, through psychotherapy and secular mindfulness programs, and now increasingly through online education, the way medium through which we are meeting today. So, what do you think? How do you identify yourself? Do you find any channel that you became a Buddhist or interested in learning about Buddhism? Do you like to share?
Yeah. I started basically committed myself to Theravada about 18 years ago.
Hmm. How did you find the channel to learn about Theravada?
So actually, I kind of got lucky because I did a lot of research and I decided that I wanted to go to a Theravada temple, and the closest temple to me was a Theravada temple, and it was only like 2 miles away from where I grew up. Um, and so I started going to that temple, and that's basically just kind of how it started. I did research and looked at all the different ones, and it Theravada made the most sense to me, and it's worked best for me. But at the same time, I still read other traditions, and I gain a lot of positive knowledge and experience. Like for example, Thich Nhat Hanh is a Mahayana monk, but
Hmm.
I consider myself a Theravada Buddhist, and I've benefited greatly from reading Thich Nhat Hanh's stuff and watching a lot of his videos. So I definitely try not to hold on too close to it. I do hold on to it just so I can have kind of like a grounding and I'm not bouncing from one to another. But you know, that's just kind of that's how it worked out for me.
Nice. Do you still go to that original temple that you went to?
I do go there sometimes. I'm about an hour and 10 minutes away from there.
Okay.
So I don't go as often. Sometimes I go to a Mahayana temple because it's about 30 minutes away, and that's the closest temple for me to go to. So I do go to, actually, I've gone to a Mahayana temple more than I've gone to a Theravada temple in the past 5 years. And it's that's actually one thing I would recommend to all of you is even if you might um, resonate with one tradition more than another, if if the only temple that's close to you is a different tradition, you should still go because the core principles are still the same, and you're going to benefit greatly, just by going and practicing there.
That's very wonderful, actually. Yes, because um, it could be different language, right? Maybe I don't know which Theravada community that you were associated with.
It was a Vietnamese temple,
Okay.
and the Mahayana temple I go to now is also Vietnamese.
Ah,
So I became pretty close to a monk that lived at the Theravada temple, and he lives in California now. Um, but I learned a little bit of Vietnamese language. I ended
okay.
up meeting a girl there, and she was my girlfriend for a while. So I have um, I've spent a lot of time around Vietnamese people.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, if anyone else also wants to share.
I agree with John about going to different temples. I started just because of just curiosity. And I really didn't read too much about Buddhism other than just, just the very on the surface, what it was and everything. And so I thought, well, my best way was to plunge myself right into the experience and get moving on it. And so about 15 years ago, I started going to a Mahayana temple. Um, and it moved. It was not a very safe neighborhood, and it just moved. And so for a while I was searching, and then I found another one that was kind of loosely put together, and then they folded or moved, and then I came to Maba, and Maba was a totally different experience that I really enjoyed, and it spoke to me. And so I agree with John on definitely try different, um, just even different temples, if not Mahayana and Theravada, just different temples. And it's a good experience.
Very nice. Yeah. But what do you think? What do you think of Navayana or new vehicle?
For me, I think it's Mahayana versus Theravada. I think Theravada is more people oriented. People, I don't know. The experience I had was more ritual in the Mahayana, more
Hmm.
ritual and more um, structured, very structured and disciplined in different ways.
Hmm.
Versus Theravada, I have experienced more of an interest in people, an interest in um, what they're learning, a little more community
Hmm.
that I've experienced, and so that's been my experience.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay. So thank you. Thank you so much. How, although this Western, he talks about Navayana, I know. I also tried to find if there is anyone interested in that concept, but many people, I haven't found like they talk about Navayana. But there could be some people who want to learn from Theravada, from Mahayana, and then they don't want to be aligned to them, and they have their own maybe practice that could also be there. Probably that's why they wanted to call the Western version called Navayana or New Vehicle. Okay. So. So maybe we'll take a 10 minutes break, and then we will discuss more about the topic, and we'll see you in 10 minutes time. Okay.